on. So the Colts are at the Steelers. The line opened up Colts -2.5. It's down to 1.5. So it looks like sharp money on the Steelers. So who do you like in this game? And as you alluded to, what is wrong with the Steelers?
Yeah, so wait, did you say the Colts are favored in this game now? I had it written down as the Steelers.
Yeah, the Colts are favored by 2.5, and now it's 1.5, yeah.
Okay, that was my bad. I wrote that wrong, but I am on the Colts here nonetheless. So obviously the Steelers have some problems. So the number one reason I'm on this game or on the Colts here is that I just think that their defense matches up well with this Steelers offense, and the Steelers offense is the main problem here. Whatever Randy Finkner, their offensive coordinator, is doing is not working. The Steelers, I know we saw them make a little bit of a comeback in the second half, but basically the Steelers offense the past 3 or 4 weeks, and my friend Dan has been saying that it's been even longer than this, they're just playing the same short passing game all the way down the field, basically. So once teams catch on to that, and we saw this last night when Mackenzie Alexander was breaking up a ton of passes in the slot because he was just jumping routes knowing they're throwing a 5 to 6 yard pass every time. If it's 3rd and 3, they're throwing it to the sticks. And, that's an efficient way to manufacture offense when you don't have a run game. But you have to generate some yards on the ground or those quick passes don't work because there's just not enough space to get them in. So Finkner needs to figure out a way to, if Ben Roethlisberger can't really throw down the field that well anymore, which appears to be a problem, I think his elbow is probably giving him some trouble. He just doesn't have the same arm strength and ability to get zip on the ball as he used to. They're going to have to rely more on the short passing game, but they're going to have to also generate yards on the ground for that to happen. And until they change their run game and make that happen and then, run some play action, it's going to be hard for them to move the ball. And I think the Colts have unique speed on defense. They have the ability to get some pressure on Roethlisberger, even though he's, dropping back really quick and throwing. DeForest Buckner up there can just toss his arms up. He's really good and instinctive. So I think they'll slow down the Steelers offense. Now, I'm a little bit worried about how they'll do against the Steelers defense, but Phillip Rivers and those guys have been hot as of late. And I think the Steelers, coming off a bad Monday night loss, they're not going to have the time to make the adjustments needed to fix what was wrong in their ground game during that. And they're dealing with a lot of injuries at linebacker. So I think that Jonathan Taylor might be able to get some stuff going and help open things up for Phillip Rivers. So I know the Colts have struggled a bit on defenses of late in the secondary especially, but I just don't think Ben can throw down the field like he used to. And I don't think he's willing to stand in the pocket and, take shots as much as he used to. So unless Finkner changes things, I'm going to be on the Colts here. And I just can't imagine them being ready to make that type of massive change.
So I actually like the Steelers a lot. And I think if you ignore the Monday night game, I know that's saying a lot, but if you ignore the Monday night game, if that never happened, the advanced line on this game was Steelers -3. So this line moved 5.5 points to the open. Now 4.5 points with the Sharps taking the Steelers. I think there's a ton of line value with the Steelers, and I think that their concerns are overblown. I do think there's some things wrong with their team, but they are getting potentially a couple of players back from injury. So they're getting Kevin Dotson back for their offensive line. So Matt Filer was a big loss for them at guard, but they have a good backup in Dotson. But Dotson was out Monday night as well. So they were down to their third string guard. They're already out. The right tackle is already out. The center coming back from missing some games. So I just don't think their offensive line was very good, and it's going to be better this week. And then you mentioned the linebackers. It sounds like Vince Williams is going to come back this week. So having him back is going to be enormous to help them. So I think they're going to be better on both sides of the ball. And I think that being humiliated like they were on national TV is just really going to help them. I think they're going to get focused. I know it's a short week, then that's not ideal. But I love betting good teams or great teams coming off humiliating losses, especially if it's on national TV. They're the laughing stock of the NFL right now, except for maybe the Rams, just because they lost to the Bengals. Everyone saw it. I think they're going to rebound. And last year they had the Colts at home and they beat them, and that was with Mason Rudolph quarterbacking. Now I know Phillip Rivers wasn't quarterbacking the Colts either, but it was the same Colts defense and same running game. Marlon Mack playing instead of Jonathan Taylor, who's pretty good too. So the Steelers getting points at home, or I guess 1.5 at home. I like that a lot. I think I love the line value, and I mentioned before the Dolphins Raiders game. Like usually I love taking this line value. I didn't in that game because of the motivational reasons, but in this game, I think the Steelers are really going to be motivated to come out and really prove to everyone that they're okay.
Yeah, you definitely could be right. And the offensive line injury, I mean, JP Hassenauer has not proven to be a quality backup on the interior. He generated no push at center and guard really in the starts he's made. And, I'm so sorry to speak ill of him, but, maybe he'll improve in the future. Getting Dotson back would be huge for that. And maybe they can run better. But I still just think that they're a little too one-dimensional if they can't generate enough yardage on the ground. Like, if they start running well, then they could easily beat the Colts, because then that just opens things up a little more for those quick passes. But if they're still struggling to get like 3-yard gains on a Colts defense, it's been pretty good against the run this year. I think they could have some issues. So I'm going to stick with Indianapolis, but I can see where you're coming from on this, because the line value is immense. And, the Steelers as a home underdog, I mean, if we had said that like 5 weeks ago, it would be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, why? They're like undefeated. So I do think that their concerns are a little bit overblown, I think, especially on defense, but I'm still worried about that offense. I don't think they have to quite go nuclear on offense, but they have to come up with a lot of new stuff if they're not going to be able to run the ball better, or, find a different and better way to run the ball at least.
Yeah, the thing that gets me here is like the Steelers, I know they've had these issues, but they have so much talent on offense. Like they really do. Like they're not. I feel like they're going to bounce back at some point. And before the Cincinnati game, it was the drop passes that were the problem. Like they dropped 13 passes in 2 games leading up to the Buffalo game, and yeah, they lost to Buffalo, but Buffalo's a top 3 team in the NFL this year, so you can't really hold that against them. And I feel like they just showed up against Cincinnati and just figured they were going to win. Like they crushed Cincinnati the first time. They're like, oh, this team sucks. They don't have Joe Burrow anymore. We're just going to win. And so they put forth no effort into that game. And that's why I said, I think you have to ignore that game. I think you just toss that aside and pretend as though that game didn't exist. And I think you have to look forward to that, to the next game, especially because they're going to have Vince Williams back, and presumably Vince Williams and Kevin Dotson back, and maybe even James Conner back. So they're definitely going to be better this week, I think.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. I'll be watching their injury report closely, because Vince Williams is another huge one. If he's back, maybe I switch sides depending on what this line looks like. But I'm still pretty strong on Indy at this point. But injury report might swing me.
Yeah, I agree. Vince Williams, that's big. If he's out, I have much less confidence in the Steelers. So I think you're right about that. All right.